Hey, what's up everybody? It's Coach Matt over here, Primal Athlete Training Center, Cranston, Rhode Island. Following the same idea as the previous videos on lifting technique, today we're going to talk about the clean. Now, here at Primal, we don't do a lot of Olympic lifting. We do a lot of Olympic lifting variations. But what we do deal a lot with are athletes who come to us that have a background in doing things like cleans. The form's a little bit sloppy, the technique's a little bit messed up, and we have to kind of go back, break it apart, and teach them step by step. And that's what we're going to do today. There are many, many ways of teaching the clean. There are many different techniques. There's many different steps. It seems like every person you talk to has a different way of teaching it. And we know that going in. So today, like the other days, we're going to go through some of the basic steps to help you to increase your clean numbers. So when your coaches test you during the season, you'll be able to lift more and more weight. Okay, the first thing that we're going to talk about with the clean, we're going to start and move from the top down. So we have to talk about the racked position, basically where you catch that barbell at the top of the lift. Now the racked position, it's a little tricky because some people will hold it in their hands. We want to make sure that we have the bar properly placed on our shoulders. So what I like to do is teach this in either a power rack or in a squat stand. What you're going to do is grab the bar at the same spot that you normally would if you were pulling off the ground or if you were doing a clean, and we're going to work the bar on top of the shoulders. So we're actually going to get the bar on top of the shoulders. We're going to stand up with the bar, and now from here we're going to get the elbows nice and tall. It should be to the point where the shoulders are doing all the holding of the weight, and the fingers and the hands are just there for balance. So if you want, you can start to move the fingers off, just like this, boom, and hold the weight right on the shoulders. So the shoulders hold all the weight, not the hands. Once you get comfortable with this position, the next step is to move into your front squat. Now that you have an idea of how to hold that bar when you're in that top position, when you're in that rack position, we have to talk about a front squat. Front squat is a very big part of doing your clean, whether it's cleaning when you're pulling it off the ground or a hang clean or pulling off boxes. We want to talk about the front squat. Now front squat is just like it sounds. We're going to put the bar on our shoulders in that racked position and we're going to squat down to the ground. Now it's a little bit different than a regular squat because the weight is in the front. Your balance, your center of gravity is going to be a little bit off. We're just going to show you a couple different reps, making sure of a few things. Number one, keeping the body nice and upright. We're going to keep that chin tucked, and we're not going to let the shoulders droop. As soon as the shoulders droop and the elbows drop down, we're going to lose position, get in a really bad rounded position, and the bar is going to drop down to the ground. So first thing that we want to do, we're going to pull this out of a rack when we first learn this movement. We're going to get under in that upright position, rack it up. We're going to step back out of that rack, elbows nice and tall, and we're going to sit back into that squat. So we're going to make sure we're trying not to drop the elbows, elbows tall. And that's the front squat. Now that we've worked on getting the bar in that proper rack position in the front squat, we want to talk about the very top part of the clean. Basically pulling using just a lot of hip movement and just a slight bend at the hips and at the knees. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that first step, we're going to deadlift the bar properly off the ground with a double overhand grip and stand straight up. So we're just going to go down, proper deadlift position, stand straight up. Now from here, what we want to do is keep our upper body nice and straight, nice and proud. We're going to just sit back into the hips, just a little bit. You notice there wasn't much movement, and I'm not putting my back down to the ground. Keeping my upper body super, super straight. We're going to sit down, and from here, we're going to get triple extension. We're going to explode with the ankles, knees, and the hips, driving that bar up into that rack position. Here's what it looks like. Slight dip. We're looking for triple extension, and explode. Now from here, we're going to lower back down. Let's do one more rep. Hips, looking for triple extension, and explode. Catching the bar in that rack position, elbows as tall as you can get them. Okay, now the next step that we're going to talk about is the hang clean position right above the knee. Now the breakdown that we're showing you is fantastic, especially for those athletes that come to us that already have some bad habits and some bad tendencies with their technique. This is how we break them down. The first step, we're just going to hinge back at the hips. Now we're going to hinge back at the hips and drag the bar down to it's right above the knee. Okay? From there, we're going to explode up, getting that triple extension, catching the bar at the top. So like before, deadlift the bar off the ground. We're going to drop down so the bar is right above the knee. And from here, same idea. We're looking for that triple extension. We're going to explode up and rack the bar up on our shoulders. So here's what it looks like. We're going to dip down. From here, we're going to get extension, ankles, knees, and hips. Catch the bar. Drop down. Ankles, knees, hips. Catch the bar. Okay, so we're working that explosion and we're slowly dropping down into a full range of motion. Now the next step, we've gone from properly racking the bar to the front squat. We're moving from just dipping at the hips, hang clean above the knee. We've got a few more positions left. Now we've got to work below the knee. So again, for those athletes that might have little hitches here and there, little mistakes here and there in their technique, it's a great way to break it down. What we're going to do, we're going to deadlift the bar like before. We're going to drop the weight down, sitting back into our hips, and drop the bar down to below the knee. And from below the knee, we're going to pull up, get that triple extension, catch the bar up on the shoulders. Here's what it looks like. Proper deadlift. We're going to pick the bar straight up. We're going to sit back into our hips, bend the knees, get into a position where the bar is just below the knee. Now from here, we're going to explode up, triple extension, catch the bar. The goal is always going to be triple extension, flat back, driving and catching at the top. Now the last part of the clean technique is going to be pulling from the ground. Now this is where everything gets put together. We're going to pull off the ground. We're going to explode into triple extension, catching the bar in that position on the shoulders, nice and racked up properly. Now at the end of this, we're going to show as the weight gets heavier, we're going to have to drop under the weight into that front squat. That's why the front squat is so important and why it's a big part of what we do to correct a lot of movements for those athletes. Now one of the things that we need to talk about too is that the weight on the bar has to be correct in order to do these movements. This is a big thing. There's that old saying, you can put a fence post in the ground using a carpenter's hammer, but it would be a heck of a lot easier to use that sledgehammer. And that's the same idea here. In order to do these movements properly, like some other movements in the gym, we want to make sure that you have the correct amount of weight on the bar. What I like to do is I like to clean and catch that clean as high as possible and not squat under until the weight gets heavy enough where you have to do that. Once the weight gets heavy enough, that's where we're going to do that squat under the bar and catch that in the low position. But for right now, let's talk about high position, and then we'll demonstrate some catches in that front squat position and how to work into it. First thing we're going to do, we're talking about pulling off the ground. Here's what we're going to do. Just like the deadlift video the other day, we're going to start with the bar about halfway between our feet. That seems to be a solid starting position for many of the athletes that I've trained here. We're going to keep our back nice and flat. We're going to sit back into the hips, bend the knees, and grab the bar with that double overhand grip, making sure our butt is low and that our back is nice and flat. Hinge back, pull yourself down into this low position, getting the butt as low as possible, back nice and flat. Now from here, we're going to explode up, lifting the bar and catching nice and high in that rack position. Here's what it looks like. Now in order to start working the front squat into this, we just want to catch the bar and slowly drop into a front squat. As the weight gets heavier, as you practice the movement, it's going to be smoother and smoother, and your experience will allow you to move more and more weight. So here's one with that full catch in the front squat. And there you have it. Now hopefully this explains a little bit more about how to do a proper clean, how to work backwards, deconstruct that clean, and improve your technique. Any questions, let us know. Matt@primalatc.com, or come right here, Cranston, Rhode Island, and train right along with us.